The Wichita Falls ISD Board of Trustees are about to discuss having a backup boss in case Dr. John Farsard leaves to take a job in Beaumont. You're watching News Channel 6 at 6. I'm Chris Horgen. Ashley's on assignment tonight. News Channel 6 Jack Carney is outside the district's education center. He joins us now live. And Jack, in just moments, we could know who could become the interim superintendent.
Well, for now, we're just watching and waiting, Chris, but I talked with WFISD officials before this meeting began, and they do intend on announcing an interim superintendent before the end of tonight's meeting. Now, first they're going to go into what's called a closed session. We won't be able to get access to that. The only people who will know what's going on during that time are the actual board members and the secretary of the district. After that, they'll come back out into an open session, and that's where members of the public, media like myself, will finally get to find out what, or rather who, in this case, the district is considering for the interim superintendent position. Now, I talked with Trace Horgen just moments ago, and what he told me is he couldn't name specific names, but he did tell me there's 3, possibly even as many as 4 candidates that really have the possibility of filling in as the interim superintendent until one is chosen. Now, we're going to be following this meeting all night. Be sure to turn back in to News Channel 6 CW at 9 and back here on CBS at 10. So reporting outside the Educational Center for the district, I'm Jack Carney, News Channel 6.
All right, Jack Carney, thank you. This leadership decision is important. Early voting for the WFISD's bond proposal is just a week away, and the ballots will be cast then. It all starts next Monday, April the 27th. In our drought watch coverage tonight, lake levels are in for Wichita County, and it looks like they might have taken a slight hit this week. Combined levels for Lakes Arrowhead and Lake Kickapoo sit at 21.9%. That is down 0.2% from last week's numbers. It leaves the city of Wichita Falls in the Stage 5 drought catastrophe. For a look at our drought watch coverage, just go to our website at newschannel6now.com.
Now, I'm really surprised by that. We had some good rain late last week and over the weekend in the watershed. I thought that if anything, they might have gone up by a few tenths of a percent, but I was wrong. They went down by a little bit. Maybe we can get some more rain there this week. 60s to near 70 at this hour. A weather today picture perfect across Texoma. 66 right now in Bowie, 68 Duncan, and 71 in Graham. Again, outside right now, mostly sunny skies. I'm going to step off here in the Falls. We're at 68 degrees. Southeast winds at 7 miles per hour. Now, if you're going to be outdoors this evening, the weather looks good. It's going to get cool, though, especially once the sun sets. 60s and even 50s, winds will be light. We're talking about those rain chances coming up in your Skyward 6 forecast.
All right, Ken, thank you very much. Wichita Falls city leaders will consider spending nearly $2 million, all in hopes of sparking economic growth. News Channel 6 Brittany Costello talked with the Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce today, and Brittany, those funds would go toward an enhancement project at Pratt Whitney.
City officials say funds for that project would come out of 4A taxes from Wichita Falls residents. Taxes that go toward the city with the sole purpose of economic development. Those city officials say it's an investment that would pay off for both the city and residents.
Pratt & Whitney is key to our economy. They are one of our largest employers, and the company provides the type of jobs that our people are good at.
With economic development in mind, city officials will consider spending $1.8 million for an enhancement project at Pratt & Whitney. That funding would come in the form of a forgivable loan, meaning the business would have to meet certain expectations.
This is a retention project, and so there certainly may be some new jobs created, but the main goal here is to modernize the facility, make it stronger in the eyes of the corporate parents, and allow them to do more here.
The source of funding for this project would come from the pockets of Wichita Falls residents. It's part of the 4A sales tax that was designed strictly for economic development purposes.
So the more as a community that we can support these existing companies, the better off we're going to be when they're making decisions about what to do next.
Support some residents say may be heading in the right direction.
I think if the money is spent to update and revitalize that particular agency and keep them from moving somewhere else, that this is a pretty good plan, and especially if it's going to help promote with getting more employees in here.
If we could see some results and what's they can offer for our town, I think it would be perhaps a good idea, but yet, we need other areas too to be filled in.
City councilors were originally set to discuss the approval of this item at tomorrow's council meeting. However, this item has moved to the May 5th council meeting. Details for the project are still in the works. Brittany Costello, News Channel 6.
Good story there, Brittany. Thank you. Even if those funds are approved by the City Council, Pratt and Whitney will still have the ultimate decision on whether or not to go through with the project. Making news you need tonight, the entrance to the emergency room at United Regional has changed. It's part of a multi-million-dollar project that they've been working on since November. After 5 months, phase 1 is now done, so they're transitioning into phase 2's construction. Part of that transition is creating a temporary emergency department entrance. That temporary entrance is now in use. The total cost of the project, $28 million, and officials say phase 2 should be completed by January of next year. Now at 6, today marks the anniversary of a shooting in Wichita Falls that left several injured and 2 people dead, one including the gunman. A lone gunman walked into Hastings around 9:20 on the night of April 20th, 2010. They shot and injured 4 women, including 2 airmen from Shepherd. Then the same gunman, Ross Muehlberger, went to Toby's Bar and Grill, where he shot and killed the bar's bouncer, 23-year-old Tim Donnelly. Muehlberger later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It's also been 5 years since the largest oil spill in U.S. history. April 20th of 2010, more than 200 million gallons of crude started spewing out of the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico after an explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. Some clues about the impact of the toxic disaster made themselves known immediately. But as the cleanup continues, the big picture still has yet to come into focus.
It's easy to be fooled by an image. One of the challenges with ocean conservation is the old adage, out of sight, out of mind. And it's important to remember that a lot of that oil now is not floating on the surface, is not sticking to the marshes, but it is existing down at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico.
Transocean, which owned that rig, agreed to pay the U.S. $1.4 billion. More than $5 billion has been paid out to people and businesses who were harmed by the spill. In continuing coverage tonight, we now know who Wichita County Sheriff's deputies say was arrested over the weekend after being busted for meth. Trent Dale Weaver has been charged with manufacture and delivery of a controlled substance. Officials with the Wichita County Sheriff's Office say just before 10 o'clock Saturday night, Weaver was pulled over for a traffic stop in the 900 block of Kemp. 15 grams of meth was found in his possession. Weaver's bond is set at $50,000. Every Monday, Wichita Falls Crime Stoppers teams up with News Channel 6 to help get wanted suspects off the streets. It's part of our Manhunt Monday program, but we also need your help. Here's who police are searching for tonight. He is Melvin Larry Walker Jr. He's wanted for failure to comply with registration requirements. The 38-year-old stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs about 180 pounds. If you know where he is, call Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen right there. You never have to give your name, and if he's caught by Friday, you could earn up to $500. In developing news tonight, the Tulsa County Sheriff spoke publicly for the first time today about the volunteer reserve deputy accused of shooting a restrained suspect that later died. As Omar Villafranca reports tonight, the sheriff sent his condolences to the suspect's family and said more details about the case will emerge when Robert Bates goes to trial.
Tulsa County Sheriff Stanley Gland says he has no knowledge of anyone falsifying the training records of the volunteer deputy who shot and killed a suspect earlier this month. But the sheriff admits his department may have done a poor job in maintaining Robert Bates's records.
We're trying to locate all of those. Some of those are administrative in nature, and we will provide those records as we find them.
Now! Bates, a 73-year-old retired insurance executive, is charged with second-degree manslaughter in the death of Eric Harris.
Oh, I shot him. I'm sorry.
Harris was shot after he ran from police during a gun sting operation. Bates says he mistakenly fired a handgun instead of his taser.
In his mind, he knew that it was a dangerous situation and he ought to have his gun out.
Harris's family questions whether Bates had adequate training.
And I think that it is important when you can't come up with training records and you can't come up with qualification records and you can't come up with anything except that Mr. Bates has a personal relationship with these guys.
Bates had been a re-election campaign manager for Glanz in 2012. The men have known each other for 25 years. Sheriff Glanz says 2 other deputies in the sting have been reassigned after receiving threats. They could face disciplinary action. Omar Villafranca, CBS News.
Sheriff Gland says the FBI determined there were no civil rights violations connected to that shooting. Glanz added he has no plans to retire. The drought in Wichita Falls was the topic of discussion for the Wichita County Republican women today. We're going to tell you why next. Plus, a burn ban has been lifted in one Texoma County despite the ongoing drought. We're going to tell you where after the break on News Channel 6 at 6. The rest of those two men today were because neighbors heard a noise and called police. That's happening more frequently in the Falls, so I hit the streets today to see if we could find out why that trend is growing.
Even though we do everything that we know that we can do as a homeowner, as a property owner, to limit our chances of becoming victims, it can still happen. So having a good relationship with your neighbors really does help because you're looking out for each other.
It was on a street just like this one, quiet during the day. It was a Wednesday, last Wednesday. A suspect's breaking into a house. Two neighbors see the suspect, get together and call 911. They give police a great description. Then another neighbor behind that house shoots some snapshots over the fence as the suspect ran away. He was arrested a block later. It's all neighbors looking out for neighbors. That particular neighborhood did not have a watch program, but a few simple clicks online and they could have had what's known as next door, which is easy to set up and can make a big difference.
With this next door, boom, you're getting an email, you're getting your alerts on your phone, you can just talk back and forth just like you would Facebook.
Nextdoor also allows police to let you know if there are any trends going on that might help you from becoming a victim.
And if we're having an issue in one neighborhood, hey, the cars are getting busted into over here, we can go ahead and send an alert out to all the neighborhoods. We have access to all of them.
The old neighborhood watch programs are slowly dying simply because of the ongoing lifestyles of so many people. Hey, let's face it, we've all got a lot going on, so the online system not only makes sense, but it goes with you.
I mean, everybody, is on that social media. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you think it's a great thing or not a great thing, the simple fact is it's here, and it's what people use, and Nextdoor just taps right into that.
One thing we do want to emphasize here is that you don't have to get physically involved to stop a crime. You can do just as much good by being a good witness. Police can also do a lot with the direction of travel and a description. Call 911, tell them what you are seeing, then let officers do their job.